Can you hear it? Welcome to Relay.
And that was ended up after the stairs incident. That's why Fast Car actually has to sit in the fucking car. And those children never recovered.
Good.
That's
They
what Fast
deserved
Car
it.
said. He's a bastard to children.
Hey, Tibetarius.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Tip. Fastcart, hope you're still there.
Wait, is there someone in chat? Or is it just a tip?
Oh. Off to a shining start. As usual, welcome everyone to the relay station.
You should have said we're off to a shivering start. Be way more appropriate.
It's true, it would.
Fast Car is in the chat for now until social services come and get him.
Penis jokes are there. I mean, this show is basically made of penis jokes.
Plenty of things have tips. It's not our fault if you took it in that direction.
Shiver, I know that you know, your dreams often go this way, but not everything has tits. You said
both
tips.
hands, didn't you? Yeah, you went for that with both hands, didn't you?
I did.
Straight for the balls.
Okay. Welcome to our Star Citizen show.
I'm really tired. Everyone in the house is sick. And
David's been tired for 3 years.
Only? I think it's been longer than that, Eric. How long have we known each other?
It feels like it's longer.
You had one good day in 2017.
Oh no. Oh no. The relay station's been demonetized.
Oh no.
Whatever shall we
saving
do?
up for that. We were just saving up for that ivory back scratcher collection as well.
Almost there.
Oh,
Hey, Niscavian, how's it going?
Oh,
welcome,
Noscavian.
Niscavian.
All right.
No, you don't, Noscavian. I tip you on OnlyFans all the time.
We got a lot of stuff to cover. One
do?
second, I gotta go close the door.
We've got a lot of stuff to cover, but first...
He's gonna leave.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave, and then I'm gonna come back. So,
yeah,
you know what?
I'm with you there, Fast Car. I saw that and I was like, that's nice. That's the only thing I could get. Oh, that price.
It's expensive. I would really like to see one of those someday.
Yeah, pretty much.
What was that?
It was. I went from I would really like to buy to I don't have the money.
Oh, it sounded like you sat on a pin.
I mean, he did, probably.
Yeah, of course it sold out instantly. Yeah, of course it did. Typical. I just want more mugs. I like mugs.
No shit. I just sat on the tip.
Oh boy.
Well, that's the last thing you want when you're on a stream is a cock up.
Oh god, where was someone sent me? I'm not sure if I've got to find it. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to read this. I need to read it over again just to be sure. But okay.
On light erotica again.
Here we go. The 57mm mortar round was used by the Royal Artillery in the Second World War as anti-tank rounds, though it would later be used by British tanks in North Africa. These rounds measure 57mm in diameter and an eye-watering 170mm in length. A source told The Sun, "The guy said he found the shell when he was having a clear-out of his stuff. He said he put it on the floor, then he slipped and fell on it, and it went up his ass."
Is that the British Sun?
Yeah.
The same publication that did once, I believe, have on the front cover, Elvis is alive on the moon.
I don't care. The first thing I thought about when someone sent me that was, don't worry, it's deactivated. Hot fuzz. Anyway. So I want to actually start us off on a lighter note. I'm going to go here.
It's lighter than someone shoving an artillery shell up their rectum.
Yes. I want to talk about...
Hopefully.
I want to talk about Raphtron.
Okay.
Um,
What would you like to know about Raphtron, David?
No, I've got a couple things I want to know about Raphtron. One is where the head comes from. Because there's 5 rafts, and they all form the body. None of them have a Pico head that shows up. Where does the Pico head come from?
Out of the chest. There's a cavity on the inside of the chest. And they open it up, and then it's...
The best raft.
There you go.
Any other normal Gestalt robot. Jesus.
So here's what I want to talk about. I think, I know that they did this for a lark, and Disco was like, we can color the rafts. Oh my god, let's do this. And called up 87 people at CIG until he found one. Actually, the first person he called up was probably like, yeah, I'm in, let's do it. And they made this. And it's amazing. Raphtron, Defender of the Persistent Universe, hilarious. You know what I want, though? What I want them to do with this is I want them to expand it. I want them to actually make a Raphtron episode, like a 30-minute long episode, and then split it into 15-second chunks. 5-second intro, 10 seconds of episode, and then a 5-second outro. And have that play randomly on screens throughout the verse. As an in-universe cartoon.
That would be amazing.
That fans then have to put together and capture and splice together into one episode. I think that would be fantastic.
You haven't seen much in the way of anime, have you? It's like when there's
quite a
big
bit.
fight about to happen between the good guy and the bad guy. It's about 4 weeks worth of dialogue in shows before they fight.
I watched DBZ. I watched Dragon Ball.
Fun fact, do you know why that is? I can actually tell you the real life reason for that.
Because the animators wanted a break? Or vacation?
Because when 2 samurai used to meet on the battlefield, before they would fight, they would exchange stories about previous conquests, which could actually involve singing and dancing, as well as regaling each other with these tales, and that could last for up to 4 days, 5 days, kind of thing. Fun fact for you.
I like that.
Back to samurai.
That's
What would
really
happen
cool.
if one of them's just like, fuck it, I'm going to stab you through the chest with my sword?
Well, that would bring dishonor, and then they would have to probably commit seppuku, or become
How would
a
they
Roman.
How would anyone even know?
Because there's 2 fucking great big fucking armies behind both these samurai.
Okay, so it's not just 2 guys who meet each other on the road and go, fuck, we got to fight now.
So it was just like, you're a samurai, I'm a samurai, let's have a little dance, and then we'll chop each other's heads off.
Niscavian, I will absolutely dance for you. LSP, welcome back. Haven't seen you in a bit. Hi. Anyway, that's what I want from Raphtron, okay?
Sounds amazing. And I would be totally up for that. That is definitely something they should do.
And yes, Fast Cart, that is actually something that I want my crowdfunding money to be used for. I think that would be... I think that would be great, and I think it would actually add more to the verse. They have talked years ago about having TV content, essentially, that plays on the different screens in the verse. Why not have it be something like this? Some of it, right? I want it to be different things, but some of it should be this.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, LSP. We'll be talking about the 600i later, but
the
you
600.
you must be happy.
They have been lit. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So should I go into that stuff, or do we want to do show and tell first?
Let's do show and tell first, and then we'll hit
Sounds good.
the other stuff. Just because we're on the screen now, anyway. Tip, you certainly wouldn't use $420 million to make a video game. That's for sure.
Are you sure about that, David?
100% positive. You'd use maybe 90 million to make the game, and the other 300 and whatever million for advertising.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
And then you'd release Battlefield 2042.
Yeah. You actually thought they spent $90 million making that game?
No, I don't.
$2 million, and the other $500
So tell me
million
about
was
the
advertising.
Odyssey.
The Odyssey,
Okay.
That's how bad it is. I'm the one bringing it.
it's pretty bad, yeah. Look, okay, see right there the Just Played, and they're talking about all the Xi'an Tech influences on the Odyssey. That's what
There's
I
lots of
want.
them.
That is what I want the rework, like I want them to redo on the Freelancer, because the Freelancer, when they locked its engines, they lost the only bit of Xi'an tech that was left in that Freelancer. It was the Freelancer was supposed to be this combination of human and Xi'an technology, and that was the rotating engines, and they locked those, and it lost it. There is no evidence of Xi'an in the Freelancer, and that's why I believe it needs a rework.
So I agree with you on that, and especially because they lean so heavily on the Odyssey into that Xi'an connection
Yeah.
for Myst. And they're like, hey, the way that our hangar doors open is basically Xi'an hover tech. And you also have this ramp that descends, and it's also Xi'an hover tech, and like there's a bunch of things on the ship.
Yep.
In fairness, wasn't the Freelancer? Well, it was premiered way before they had established that there's this strong connection
No.
between MISC and Xi'an technology, didn't they?
Nope.
No,
Nope.
it was at the beginning.
I
The
thought Freelancer was one of the Kickstarter ships, though.
It was. But it was...
It was always meshed with Xi'an tech from the beginning.
Well, in that case, wasn't it before they didn't they premiere it before they released any Xi'an tech stuff?
Yeah, that's why it needs a rework.
There we go.
That's why it needs a rework. To re-add the Xi'an tech. Now
It should be noted that every ship is getting
Yes.
another pass, so very likely they will do something with the Freelancer to make it a little more Xi'an-y.
The Odyssey, though, is... I mean, I can see a lot of Carrack owners being really mad about the Odyssey, because the Odyssey is just...
Good.
perfect?
It's a true deep space solo in inverted commas vessel. It's self-sustaining,
Yeah.
at least to a certain degree, whereas the Carrack right now doesn't seem to be. It seems to be you take supplies for a long distance mission, but you still got to go back. Whereas this could sustain itself through mining and other little features. So I can see why other fellow Carrack owners would be miffed about that. And I've got to say, when I was showing this off, I was tempted. But no, I'm keeping my Carrack.
Good. I did upgrade to an Odyssey. I think David did as well.
I actually technically didn't, due to the way my my ship configuration was.
Yeah.
I got rid of my Odyssey and used a buyback token for my Carrack, and then I bought the Odyssey to Carrack transfer thing.
Upgrade pack, yeah.
Upgrade, but I'm not going to use it because there's a part of me that thinks I have an Endeavor. And someday the Endeavor is going... The front end of the Endeavor
You're
feels...
never going to apply your upgrade token?
No, the front end of the Endeavor feels a lot like the Odyssey.
It's not the same.
It's not the exact same, but it might be similar enough for me.
They did themselves a lot of favors with the way they designed the Odyssey, though. A lot of the Odyssey can be copy and pasted over into being the front end of the Endeavor.
It's going to be very similar. The front end of the Endeavor might not have the mining and refining, but the Endeavor, I believe, also only had remote turrets, right? Like it's not the front end
look the same too. You can tell that they looked at the Endeavor when they were making the Odyssey, because it looks very like there's a big, strong design cues that are very similar.
The front end of the Endeavor can't jump. It won't have a jump drive. I think that's going to be the basic difference, because the front end of the Endeavor is going to have a little ship in it. It's going to be able to do many of the same things as the Odyssey, but it's going to be more tethered to the space station that it leaves in orbit. So
I have to call it one thing I really liked about the design for the Endeavor. I really like that. So when you drive up the ramp at the front, in your whatever ground vehicle you have, for example, if you really wanted to make sure you could use all of your cargo space and you didn't want your vehicle to be in there, there's a door that opens between the cargo area and the hangar, and you can drive right through that door and keep on going into the hangar. And I think you can store your vehicle in there instead, which might limit the amount of space you could have for a ship in there, but it means you also keep your cargo space free. So I think that's a neat feature.
I think it's a very, very good looking ship. I think it's a very, very well equipped ship, and I think it and this happens every time they release a new ship like this. It sets the new standard for ships. Shiver, last word.
Yeah, it's not the last word. There's like four clips for the Odyssey.
Oh, fair enough.
The Odyssey is it's extremely similar in size to the Carrack. It is basically they've said, okay, we need this new exploration ship, and they've made this in mind right now with how they're envisioning exploration and how it's going to play out with what they currently see. The Carrack that we have now was not. The Carrack was made at that time with how they see exploration being at that particular moment. Obviously, things have moved on since then, so the Odyssey has got a lot more features straight away out of the hangar than the Carrack. But hopefully, the Carrack will, at least, because it's due a rework, at least a very minor one, with new features being added. And don't forget the Carrack's modularity as well. So hopefully it's not just going to be a straight up choice between, well, the Odyssey is going to be able to sustain itself, or I could go with the Carrack, which can't. Because I am going to stick with the Carrack, but I am, as a Carrack owner, still sat here going, why? The Odyssey is self-sustaining. Surely the Carrack's going to have something, or something.
It is self-sustaining, but also we have to get to the point of at how many different systems are you going to need in the game before the Odyssey's self-sustainability starts to matter? Because right now it's not very it's not very difficult to just stop in at a spot and get new fuel and carry on, right? Like it's not a game designed. Well, I mean, it's not a ship designed for now. Look at the Odyssey
right now. Look at the Odyssey right now. It doesn't even have a ceiling.
I know.
You know, that's just bad design.
And that means that you're going to go in there and you're going to start flying, and then you're going to just get sucked out when all of the air gets pulled out. You know, blown out. Yes. Fastcart says, Eris, what would need to happen for you to want the merchantman again? I would need a really good explainer on how selling, like how landing somewhere and selling in the merchantman is going to actually work.
So, Noscavian and Citizen Tipiteris. Noscavian says the Carrack has bigger fuel tanks, longer range without stopping. Odyssey can just mine its own fuel. But Citizen Tipitarius says the Carrack also has drones, which is a fantastic point.
Mm-hmm.
But
I believe, though,
just the drones is enough to tip those scales to balance it that bit more. But it is a great feature.
But the Odyssey's hangar can also accept a lot more ships than the Carracks, right? You can sit there with a prospector in the hangar of the, like, you can put what you want there just about, whereas the Carrack is currently not able to do that. I mean, I look at
just has the little parasite ship. Yeah.
I look at the Odyssey and I think that the Carrack is going to need a rework, because I mean, one of the things that they talked about really is they now have the metrics that they need for hangars.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of ships like the Carrack, like the Endeavor, that are going to have a lot of their stuff reworked.
I disagree about the Carrack because the Carrack's hangar was always designed. It was always designed for just that one little stub ship, which is designed specifically for it. It was never supposed to have a multifunctional hangar. Yeah.
Tipateris has just said the Odyssey is capital size, so it can't fit in hangars, which means it can't land in cities. And the Carrack isn't capital size, so if they're still going with the jump point size thing as well, the Carrack's got that going for it.
Also, there is a lot of uncertainty, and this is another spot where I just don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty right now because the system isn't fully developed about what the capabilities will be like for ships in terms of scanning. And it's very, very possible that the Carrack will outdo itself there.
What about modularity for the Odyssey? Have they mentioned anything on?
I don't think there's any modularity for the Odyssey.
But the Carrack has always been touted as
yes,
is a super modular ship.
They're very similar ships. The main benefit of the Odyssey is that it's self-sufficient. The main benefit of the Carrack,
for a long time.
the Carrack is a little bit more Swiss Army knife. You can do more things with it than the Odyssey.
Actually, I think it's the other way around.
No, because
the Carrack is probably going to be a better exploration ship.
But you're also able to modify it a little bit because of its modularity. Whereas the Odyssey, what you get is what you get.
In
theory, what you get is because it can already do a little bit of everything.
Mogum says, "Wait, is the argument that the Odyssey has too much system work to support it, so the Endeavor is the way to go?" No. The Endeavor, for most people, is absolutely not the way to go. As of right now, there's a high chance there's a high chance that the Endeavor is actually going to be persistent. So the Endeavor is going to be something that only clans want. The Endeavor is a frightening beast.
Yeah. Apparently, it gives John Crew headaches every time someone talks about the Endeavor. Because from his perspective, it's going to be a nightmare to make.
Yeah.
When the time comes.
I'm not saying that the Endeavor is a better ship to go with than the Odyssey. I'm saying the Odyssey is the better ship to go with. What I'm saying is, if I've got the Endeavor and the front of the Endeavor is close enough to the Odyssey, then maybe I want to save my Odyssey money for something else. And that's just me. This is the sizzle reel thing from the Odyssey. Yep.
I really do like that they took the. Go ahead.
The Endeavor is effectively a very miniature space station.
Yep.
And the Odyssey is meant to be flying around, whereas the Endeavor is meant to be mostly just go from point A to point B, whereas the Odyssey is meant to literally fly around the system. It's going to be far more maneuverable, far more built for travel.
The Endeavor is meant to, the Odyssey will find a system, and then the Endeavor will show up there after the fact and send its ship down to the planet, get research samples and things, and take them back up to the station for experimentation and work on them, right? That's what it's designed to do. But its front ship is going to have a lot of the same stuff as the Odyssey, but it's not designed to work on its own. It's not designed to be able to be out there forever. It just
the design is similar. The design language is just the same when you look at the two of them.
Yeah.
I'll be really fascinated to follow this along. One thing I really did love is that when they made the refining part of the Odyssey, they just ripped it right out of the Starfarer. The tanks are the same. The console's the same. It's, hey, our previous work is actually paying off.
Well, And we might as well stick with Misk and take a quick look at the Hull A.
Yeah, it's looking good.
It's such a cute little ship.
Mm-hmm.
Little.
There's gonna be the Hull A is tiny.
No, I just wanted to quote Star Trek. Sorry.
Oh, I see.
Happens a lot.
Well, I can tell you the Misk or the Hull A does not have quantum torpedoes. So
Does it have phaser cannons?
no.
What's the fucking point? Thanks, Pascal.
They're
I
in final
would
art now for the Hull A, and it looks great.
I would also like to point out, again, just my thoughts on the Freelancer definitely 100% totally needing a rework, is look at the design language of every single Misk cockpit. Prospector, Starfarer, all the hulls, the Odyssey, everything except for the Freelancer. The Freelancer, it was the first Misk ship designed, but since they designed it, they threw out its entire language and reworked it. And the Freelancer needs a rework up to the level of the Hull A.
Not the entire language. You're overstating your point. It looks very similar to other Misk ships, but some of the bits of it are different.
Is the cockpit like
the exterior of the cockpit's the same. The interior is not. They do need to fix the cockpit of the Freelancer because it's
horrible.
Well, it's not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if those are little grippy things. We don't know exactly how the cargo things are going to go on it, but I think that basically.
I would think more like magnetic than anything else. But
yeah.
Very strong magnets.
How do they work?
No one knows.
No one knows.
So this is
Hey there,
basically
Piro.
this is just the Hull A is a classic Misk ship. Everything just screams Misk.
Yeah.
And the Hull A is going to be very likely an extremely common ship in Star Citizen. These will be obviously maybe other sizes, but the Hull series are going to be the backbone of trade.
Yeah. They are going to be everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
If you are planning to be like a pirate bastard person, you are going to get sick.
These are your targets.
You're going to get sick to death of running into hulls. Because it's all you're going to see. They're going to be everywhere.
Oh, man.
But you'll also probably love it because it's not like they can fight back, right?
Nope. Pew 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 pew. Is there even a gun on there?
I don't
I think there's
so.
a gun. I think there is a weapon on the Hull A, but it's not on the model at the moment.
Roll the window down and lean out.
It's just a model. It's just a
All
model.
right, I gotta go check this.
I will say they were talking about how they used some of the design language in the Hull C, but also sort of expanded the scale, and it looks, the hallways are bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a big difference. It looks like a much bigger ship. Also, tractor beams to start being added to ships. That's going to be fun.
If anybody wants to feel sad for Hull A pilots, it has a 1 remote turret, size 1 max.
What if I don't want to feel sorry for them? What if I want to just rob them?
Then you're thrilled.
I have to say, I feel like that's going to have to increase.
Maybe, but
Why?
That's not where it's at right now.
Because I don't think that a 1 size 1 remote weapon poses a deterrent to anything.
Suppose
I
it turn
think
to an
you're-
Aurora.
I think
Barely.
you're misplacing the Hull A's use.
Yeah, it's
Hull
not.
A isn't going to be your intergalactic transport ship. It's going to
No.
be your thing that you probably use to unload a Hull E in orbit, or even go planet to planet in the same system.
Or some starter person just uses it to try and make some money.
But even planet to planet
Yeah.
in the same system, like I feel like it needs to need like 2-size ones on the remote turret or something. Like it needs a little bit
Oh,
more.
I mean, it's a remote. It's a turret, David. So it has 2 guns.
Okay,
They're yeah. It has
it's
one
2-size
turret.
ones.
And
Okay,
It has 2 size
These are
ones.
little. These are the equivalent of like little food delivery vans.
Yeah,
hey,
they're.
I don't know about you, but those food delivery trucks in the United States are heavily armed.
It's
Yeah,
probably
that's the
true.
United States.
Yeah.
Everyone's heavily armed.
Pyro. I mean, that's pyro, right?
Pretty
You're not going
much.
to see many Hullays in pyro, I guess.
I love seeing work on the Hull C too. The coolest thing with the Hull C work that they showed was showing their work on the MFDs for the remote turrets and the remote tractor beams. Pretty cool.
Lucas, I think that is exactly the idea of the Hull A, because it's going to be an unloading ship for the C, D, and E.
That's going to be the painful part of flying CD and E. Hull is cargo loading and unloading will actually take a long time. So you're probably going to want to be like, hey, can you please load all the cargo onto my Hull C? Now I'm going to take one of my other ships out of the hangar and go do something.
Yep.
Because
Well,
it's going to take a
go
while.
down to the planet or walk around the space station and see what missions or just fun things you can do on foot as well.
Who needs 4 billion tons of concrete?
I
I
think-
can move it.
I mean, they've also said a number of times that, like, a Hull E is not going to be like a easy load up a Hull E and go make some money. It's going to be like a...
Well, no, it'll take you billions of credits
Yeah.
or not, maybe not billions, but probably millions of credits easily just to fill the cargo capacity of the Hull E.
And
This is the Star Citizen equivalent of real-life super tankers.
yeah,
So you need to find very narrow space corridors, twist it, block up the route, and fuck everyone's cargo up for a couple of days.
no, but the thing to think about probably the C, D, and E, but most especially the E, is they have said a number of times that weight added to your ship is going to matter. So as you add on weight to this Hull E, it is going to eat fuel like a bastard.
Oh yeah.
Like you might need a Starfarer fill up.
Yeah, especially if
On
you're going
route.
a long way.
Yep.
Yeah. It's gonna be
That's fun.
so interesting to watch how that whole thing works. I can't wait to see a Hull E in action in the game.
Yeah.
Because that sucker's gonna be insane.
Don't forget the rest stops as well.
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
rest stops, so you might not necessarily need to know someone with a Starfarer. But then it's also, if you're doing some obscure route, it does also give player Starfarers players something to look out for on the notice board as well.
Yep.
So it's feeding back into itself. Everyone
Throw
supports
up,
everyone, even if it's not something you want to do.
You could probably even throw up a beacon prematurely and just chat to the person and be like, hey, I'm gonna need a refueling here in like 20 minutes, you know.
And Jesus, that's the name. Dominus Stellae? Apologies
Dominus
if I missed
Stellae?
that. Bless you. Points out, NPCs and Quanta exist in SC-verse as well, so you're not just going to have to rely on players because they're.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Honestly, one of the coolest things. I mean, there's lots of cool things about the way Star Citizen is designed, but the idea that NPCs can take quests or take missions is really cool.
Well, I mean,
can't wait
that's where most of the hulls are going to come from, because most of the
Oh,
hulls,
yeah.
I mean, probably 99% of the hulls that you see in verse are not going to be players. They're going to
Probably.
be AI moving cargo from place to place, because that's what an economy needs.
Anyone else realize that the hulls better be very efficient for the game to render, because they're going to be all over the
Like huge
place.
ships.
Yep.
And they, as far as I know, they actually doubled down on it a little while ago, but haven't talked about it since. They still want the advertising boards
Yep.
on the side of the hull, which is a really cool little touch, I think.
I love that
Little.
idea.
To
There's another,
Batarius,
and there's a way you can actually like make some of your money back from your fuel going.
to Batarius,
Fuel cost.
the capital ships are going to only be usable by orgs, which is probably going to piss a lot of people off. Yeah, but CIG have said it many times. Many times.
Yep.
Remember they warned everyone, I think it was at the Hammerhead, that they were like, look, this thing comes more or less
No,
unequipped.
it was the Javelin.
It was Javelin, sorry.
They backed away from that.
I know,
yeah,
but they shouldn't have.
They said at the time that it only orgs should buy it.
Yeah.
Honestly, really big ships are going to require a large amount of money to run them. Now, you can make that work on your own. You just have to be well organized and figure it out. But, you know, orgs are going to have a leg up in dealing with it, for sure.
Have they spoken about the AI crew yet? Or recently?
Yes, they did.
That was still going to be a thing.
Yeah, actually, one of the reasons they were reworking the Retaliator was because one of many reasons they were reworking the Retaliator is because the NPCs were having trouble walking down the hallways because they were too narrow. So it's coming, you know. It's always intended. And I mean, that's another thing. Like, yes, you can crew your ship with NPCs, but you do have to pay them.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah. But then you would have to pay your players as well, unless you had some deal.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I wanna talk a little bit about some of the videos that we've got going now. I'm just gonna wait for it to switch to something else, and we'll go through it. They're adding some stuff to the Starfarer for refining, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
The Starfarer is going to be quite a useful ship. Some interior art of the Drake Vulture.
Yeah, it's getting into final art phase pretty far along now.
I love those interiors on the industrial ship. I'm not one really to go for industrial ships or their use, but I can't help but love the interiors.
I really
They
like.
look great.
I really like the angry Aurora there.
Yeah, Angry Aurora. Yeah.
Yeah. Look. The
I
Scorpius.
would never unsee that.
The Scorpius, when its wings are folded up, is just a pissed off Aurora. Period.
Yep. Totally.
I love my Scorpius.
The Scorpius is
Oh,
great.
I'm going to name it Pissed Off
It is worth
Aurora.
noting.
Angry
It is
Aurora.
worth noting that they, John Crew also mentioned recently that because they've gotten the work done to allow them to make the Hull series, some of that work should allow them to do things like being able to manually actuate your wings on your ship,
Yep.
separate from your landing gear. So you probably at some point will be able to just fly around in space looking like an Angry Aurora with your Scorpius.
Hell yeah.
It's not just an angry Aurora. It's like the Aurora is the lava. And then it grows into a Scorpius given time. Just becomes
That's amazing.
cynical as it gets older.
I love that.
That's what I'm now going to name it. The Cynical Aurora.
There you go.
All right, and we did get a very quick peek at the Merchantman.
We sure did. It's looking great.
Yep.
Lacks a bit of detail at the moment.
It's in white box. I'll just put it that way.
I like the spinny engines. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it looks great. I like, and you love to see early explorations into that type of animation inside a ship. It's pretty cool.
I mean, we'll talk about it in a
When
minute.
was the
But
Merchantman first sold? Was that?
Just a moment. I'll look it up.
Kickstarter, was it? That was
No,
pretty soon
it was
after Kickstarter.
It was after the Kickstarter, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it is an old ship.
7 years ago.
Oh, in the before times.
2013. Okay.
Merchantman isn't my kind of ship, but I fucking love it. I really do. It's such a cool ship, and it's such a sci-fi idea as well. It's the sandcrawler in space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember, oh, he's listening. That's right.
Yeah, 2013. Hey, that's crazy. Only a year after the game started.
I will be right
yeah.
back. Keep going.
We're gonna be like, probably 9 years between when it was concepted and when it's complete in the game. But they are actually in production now, so it shouldn't be, too stupidly long. It also helps that they've done some of the other Banu ships now, so they actually have the style guide down.
Look, it's fine. The time between the merchantman concepting and like us actually getting the merchantman is going to feel like a matter of minutes compared to the time between the Endeavor's initial concept and when we actually get it.
Yep.
Oh, I thought you were going to say between pre-alpha and alpha.
No, because it's
also that
the Endeavor is going to be longer than that.
Oh man, when was the Endeavor?
I have to ask, right? And I know that this is decades away from ever being a problem, but I can't help but wonder for people who do own ships like the Javelin, which are too big to be stored in a hangar. How's that going to work when they first get in game? They're just going to be like, so you've had this Javelin waiting here for you since the game started. It's been blown up several times, and you actually owe us money at this point, or some. Are you going to be screwed from the get-go? I know this is not an important question at this point in time, but I'm just wondering. I am genuinely wondering how they're going to approach that possible.
You will have a credit for it. That credit will basically say you can pick up one Endeavor at the shipyard. Here is where you pick it up.
That's a good idea. However, one possible drawback is let's say you want to do that, and you'll go there and you'll go to the ship and you'll say, right, have my Endeavor, please. Yeah, it's going to be about 4 months. We're just building it now. It's just on the dry docks.
They'll just have one for you. They'll just have one, like...
But isn't that against a whole point of Quanta?
Technically, but they're going to have to... Again, they have to do some hand-wavium, especially to hand out the
how much
first...
is that on the market? Is that worth me going for? Yeah.
Well, in my mind, what happened when you said that was like you'd arrive at like the shipyard or whatever and go, oh, I'm here to claim my Endeavor, and one will like fly in from the side and be like, dock. Be like, hey, yeah, we had like 3 in waiting back there. Here's yours.
You'd want to go to that shipyard that's like desperate for materials that no one can get even so much as a happy Aurora at, and then you go there and claim your Endeavor, and you just roll out with this Endeavor just to confuse and piss off everyone watching.
You roll out with the Endeavor.
I love that you're referring to the basic Aurora as the happy Aurora now.
You roll out with the Endeavor and then back it up and be like, yep, scrap it. I'll take the cash.
So I got insurance on it, whatever.
Yeah. I'll wait another 6 months for another one. That's fine. Just give me the money.
Oh, that's funny.
Just bring it. Oh, it's got a speck of dirt on the dust. Trash it. I want another.
All right.
Excuse me. There's a button missing. I want a new one.
Unplayable.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There was a really good Star Citizen Live this week.
Yep.
And we want to talk about it a little bit.
Yep.
Because... yeah, an Escavian, exactly. Because it's a really good Star Citizen Live. I actually listened to it. I had it playing on my fridge while I was making dinner one night, which was pretty good. What's wrong, Shiver?
No, you're not okay. No, we're not going to bite.
Saying things like that.
We're not going to bite. We're going to continue right on by that.
All right. It was sort of annoying that my fridge temporarily paused it when the oven reached temperature to let me know that the oven was at temperature, but I'm still sorting out the whole they talk to each other.
Okay.
Just imagining Eris in his fucking kitchen these days, everything talking to him, and it's like, it's okay, Blender. No, you're fine. And then just having this therapy session with the toaster or something like that.
Look, you're not doing a very good job right now. I need you to get a little darker.
There was this scene in Red Dwarf, which is strangely prophetic, where the main character, or one of the main characters, Lister, smashed the talking toaster because it was so chipper and upbeat every fucking day. And I agree with him. I don't want that kind of, howdy doodly do in the fucking morning. It's like, you want some toast? What kind of toast do you want? Would you like a bun? Would you like a hot crust bun? Would you like a flapjack or something like that? It's just like, just give me the fucking toast and shut the fuck up. And he ended up smashing it into a million pieces. And it's like, that is what is going to happen. That is the future we are building for ourselves, where we're going to be pissed off at our fucking kitchen devices first thing in the morning because they're all like, oh, good morning, give me that, how are you, would you like this, would you like this? And it's just like, I just want a fucking cup of coffee. I don't want communication.
On that note, I actually saw a really interesting article in the Washington Post earlier this week talking about how the name Alexa is a huge problem for people who are named Alexa, to the point that some people whose name is Alexa have actually been told to use a different name in meetings, for example, to call themselves by something else, because Amazon named their assistant Alexa, and if someone with Amazon devices says their name in a meeting, their devices start going off. Which is, like, you wouldn't think about that. That's really, I mean, yeah, you can use other names, but Niskavian, most people with an Alexa device have an Alexa device and are therefore not technologically savvy enough to use another name with their Alexa device. So, anyway,
Can I just say,
Yeah.
for people who do own one and are currently watching this right now, Alexa, order a 9-inch black rib dildo for me.
I can't wait for the comment section on a YouTube video.
oh god.
Anyway, so we're gonna talk a little bit about Star Citizen Live from this week.
Yes. Because we can stay on topic.
And I will also probably throw in a few things from the previous two Star Citizen Lives, because I also watched them. Today. You know what I've been doing with my day. The raft. So this has been sort of talked about a little bit on Reddit and so on and Spectrum. But the reason that the raft doesn't quite work properly at the moment is because it was originally supposed to come with a cargo refactor, but the cargo refactor got booted to sometime next year, and so it currently works just fine as a cargo ship, just like any other cargo ship. So they released it now. Obviously, they've talked about this a few times, but eventually it will be able to actually lower those boxes down from the back of it, so it'll be much easier to unload than a traditional cargo ship. So that's pretty cool.
I thought that was actually a great part of the discussion in this week's Star Citizen Live, where they sort of explained how they plan out which ships are coming, because I mean, they're trying to launch ships with systems that are complementary, but because it can take 6 months to 2-3 years to develop a ship, depending on what the ship is and how big it is and where it is, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. And for the raft, they planned it to be with the cargo rework, but the cargo rework didn't work yet, so they just had to do it early. And it's, I don't know, I thought it was a really, really good explanation of how they try and plan the ships for when they're coming out, because
They also name dropped the Taurus as one that got booted a bunch of times because there were just other things that we needed to do.
hey, citizen. I mean, I think the problem that they hit is they released the Starfarer with absolutely no gameplay. They released the Reclaimer.
Gameplay.
Still hasn't. I know. And then they released the Reclaimer with absolutely no gameplay, and it ended. It ends up being a bit of a waste for the the ship teams, because they could have been doing ships that can be flown and played and used, rather than, I mean, I think they needed the Reclaimer and the Starfarer for Squadron, but
the other problem is that the Reclaimer and the Starfarer both are probably going to have to be reworked now when their gameplay systems actually come online, because then they won't be up to date with the way that they've designed the gameplay system. So
and they're doing that right now with the Starfarer, right? They're having to add in how refining, because they didn't know originally, right? And that's the other thing that they were talking about that was really good, is there's this idea of a gold standard, right? There's a couple ships that are getting their gold standard passes right now, but that's a gold standard pass as of December 2021.
Yeah,
that gold standard is going to shift. The gold standard itself will shift, because they used to have ships that were gold standard, and then they were like, okay, now we've added refueling, and we need a little spot where all the refueling goes. And they're like, oh, these old ships that were gold standard don't have those. There's a new gold standard, and there will be another new gold standard, and there will be another new gold standard. Ships are going to get reworked and added to for years.
Yep. So in terms of gold standard passes, though, because they are actually starting to work their way through and go through all their ships right now. So these will be anything from very little changes where they just add the components in. The Saber was a good example of one that didn't take very long and was not very broad. All they had to do is add the components. Then they had other ones like the 600i, which is a full rework. And so that'll be your sort of scale. It'll go all the way from the Saber, which didn't need much work, all the way to the 600i, which is basically had its entire guts ripped out and replaced with new guts.
I want to make two caveats there, or one caveat. I don't even know how many caveats. I can't count. They did remark that the Saber Raven did not get gold at the same time as the rest of the Saber, because it's a different hull. It's a different ship. It's the Saber Raven, but it's not a Saber. It's its own thing, which sucks.
Also, why did they ever call it the Saber in the first place? Because it's not a Saber.
I don't know. They should have called it something else, honestly.
Yep. Like the Raven.
So I think they should move over to a carbon-based release system, and it should be like coal, and then all the way up to diamond for actual release. And then, not only is that going to be more fitting with the different releases, but we can actually plot the release of Star Citizen from when it was coal to diamond.
Yeah, but
so
where in there?
Along the way there, carbon actually becomes sentient and starts to do its own thing. So, it's a problem.
Where are humans, and where are things like carbon nanotubes and is that before diamond or after diamond?
It depends, because there's Neil Diamond.
Let's talk about the 600i.
Yes.
LSP is here, and LSP is squeeing, I want to say, anytime the 600i is mentioned. So
600i is getting a medical bed similar to the Carrack. It is getting much bigger distinctions between the touring and exploration versions of the ship. The exploration version will have things like an armory, a bigger cargo hold, and will be able to fit larger vehicles inside the cargo hold. Also, they vaguely said more gameplay options for exploration, but didn't expand on that. Maybe better sensors is what they're talking about. I'm not entirely sure. The touring version will be dedicated to or focused on luxury guest transport, so more like the
890.
890 jump. And they also they changed where the modular section of the ship is, so it's now the rear of the ship instead of the middle. So big changes, obviously. And they're like, what didn't change? And they're like, well, the captain's quarters are mostly the same.
Yep. This makes a lot of sense because the 600i did not seem suited for what it was supposed to do at the time. Like it's this exploration vessel, and you walk in, it's like, I mean, this is not how I imagine, I don't know, name some famous historian. I don't want to name any because all of them...
Magellan.
Okay. I have this fear of naming the wrong historian and them having done something horrible because...
Historian.
They all did something
Explorer.
horrible.
They all did horrible things, so... But, like, I don't really imagine them traveling in this lap of luxury and, like... I don't know.
No. Moving
That's a
on
good
from
point. For the time, I suppose, I wonder if they did actually travel in what was comparative luxury or not. But I do like the idea. Sorry, Nakara, but I do like the idea of the 600i actually being more geared up for each specific role, and I was even quite intrigued by the luxury touring, because do you remember way back they released that design doc for the Starliner?
Yep.
Yep.
With drink mixing and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That actually could be quite interesting just for a giggle once in a while. You know, to pretend to be an air steward, I hope is the correct modern term for that role.
You're fine.
Okay. But it could be quite...
I'll say fucking penis all I want, but I'm going to be very careful about this one.
There's a respect for people, gender roles, and titles in our society. But saying penis is a universal accepted constant. Constant.
Okay. Moving along from penises and 600i.
This is... I do apologize. This is a very penis-filled episode.
Yeah, well,
Next
they all
week
are.
we're going to talk about bums.
Okay, good to know.
Bum.
Come prepared. The Mullen Prospector saddlebags haven't changed. They will
Correct
still be able to
Uranus.
crush and expand like they are designed to. It hasn't been implemented yet. That's all. No change in design. Someone was asking if that design had changed since it's not what they look like right now, but it just hasn't. That little feature hasn't been implemented yet.
Where are we here?
Well, we kind of jumped around a bit. Another thing with the gold standard. So they want to make sure that one of the things they're talking about is they want to make sure that all the dashboards work in the ship, make sure all the interactions work, make sure that there are interactables for all the things that a ships are supposed to have, all that good stuff. The updated Vanduul ships that we saw a couple of years ago, they will not be coming to the Persistent Universe until after Squadron 42 releases.
This is good.
But they will be coming shortly after Squadron 42 releases. Weapon.
That could be bad depending on how.
I want them to
Especially if you live in the Vega system.
I really want them to come to the Persistent Universe in a sort of a tie-in event to the launch of Squadron of also there's Vanduul now, and they will
Everywhere.
fuck you up. Yeah.
Weapons. So all weapon. This should not surprise anybody. All weapon stats are currently temporary. None of them are final right now. Some of the things I talked about with weapons, weapon ranges. So the range of a weapon will increase as you go up the size scale, which makes sense. And they will be introducing more differences between the sizes, so there'll be more choice there. Like you might not necessarily want to go with the highest size weapon that you can fit onto a port. And also they are going to be introducing more differences between ballistic and energy weapons as well.
Have they spoken at any point? Sorry, Kara.
No, go ahead.
Have they spoken at any point, especially more really for larger ballistic weapons, about different ammo types? I think ammo types have been mentioned for handgun.
Yeah.
Possibly?
I'm pretty sure they have, and they also talked recently about introducing a whole bunch of new damage types. So that's probably it'll probably tie in with having different ammo types for ballistics. So I think it's very likely to be the same. Yeah.
That'll be really fun.
Yep. Probably the most important thing that they talked about, maybe not even. One of the most important things they talked about, player-facing modularity. I missed a couple things. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Ship mass due to cargo. So yes, not yet, but probably with the cargo refractor, they weren't able to be specific because the team being interviewed was not the team in charge of this, but probably with the cargo refractor, cargo mass will matter. So if you have really, really heavy cargo in your cargo hold, your ship will be more sluggish, will burn more fuel, will be slower, that type of thing. Yeah, I know, Shiver.
Insert your mum joke here.
Yeah, right. Ballistic weapons are going to see some change. They're currently fairly placeholder-ish the way that they work. Currently, the amount of ammo you have for a weapon is dependent on what purpose it has. So if if it's meant to attack like capital ships, it will have a higher ammo count. It will be changing to physically based ammo. So is there room for a bigger magazine in your ship? If there is, then you can have one. So it won't be based on the type of weapon anymore. It'll be based on the actual physical room in your ship. And yeah, so we're going to see a lot of tuning with the weapons coming up. Now to the one that I was saying was going to be fairly important.
Oh, hang on. Before you get to that one, what about the tensile strength one?
That's coming after. I think that's the most important, but
okay.
That one's coming later.
There's a bit of a disagreement within Relay on which is the most important thing that they're talking about, but this is Nakara's.
Yes. Honestly, there's a lot of important ones here, but anyway, player-facing modularity. So I'll face this head on. There was a stupid rumor in the community that because they hadn't talked about modularity in a long time, that it was not coming anymore, then they were just ignoring it, hoping that the community forgot it ever existed as something they were supposed to do.
Why are they saying? Why is a rumor starting for that, but not something like pets? Because they haven't talked about pets at all, and I want to know where my damn parrot is.
After release, they already said that.
Yeah.
Later.
Not now.
Player-facing modularity. So it is still coming. It's not going anywhere. They had a core tech blocker, which is kind of why they never talked about it for a long time. So here is the deal. Why is it taken so long to get it to work? Well, they needed to have it such that inside an object container, there needed to be item ports in those object containers. Inside those object containers, they had to have items which were attached to the ships, which then contained other items which were also attached to that object container, and that whole thing had to work properly. That is not an easy bit of code. Oh, and the other part was object containers by their very nature prefer to, like, they just don't, they tend to misbehave, I guess. When you try and do dynamic things with them, they prefer to have a static state. And they were trying to make them dynamically attach and detach parts, which, you know, was not working perfectly. However, they are now to the point where it's very close to working. As John Cruz said, they could do modularity right now with the Retaliator, but they have one blocker left, which is that when the Retaliator was made, the torpedoes were actually attached to the exterior of the ship in order to make them work properly. But that means that if you swap out the module for the Retaliator, then the dropship module will still have the torpedoes on the inside. So they have to change that design so that the torpedoes are attached to the module instead of to the ship itself. But they are close here with modularity, and Retaliator is the first one.
I've been reminded of something that I really wanted to talk about because I think it's something that needs to be talked about. Now,
what's that?
And this is down the ways with, but we know that pets are going to exist, and you are going to be able to have ship pets, right? We also know that there's a reason that there are going to be like hard points for objects and seats for people. Because if you're flying around in a ship with a bunch of people and you start getting shot at and things start getting hectic, those people are going to want to be buckled into seats. What's going to happen to your cat when you get thrown around? Are they going to like...
I have one piece of advice for you. You need to go and read Leviathan's Fall.
I haven't read any of the others, so...
And then you'll find out.
I haven't read any of the others, so...
I guess it would be a catastrophe.
You actually take some time to explore what would happen if you had a dog in a spaceship. It doesn't necessarily...
It's a head injury. It might end up catatonic.
That would be catastrophic.
I already made that one.
Did you? I didn't hear it.
Yeah, literally moments ago I said it would be catastrophic.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't listening.
So, another
I
thing
apologize.
is, part of this work should also make it easier for them to properly animate items inside ships. You'll notice some of the things that are supposed to be animated in ships right now are not animated. And that's down to this same tech blocker that was blocking them from doing modularity. Also, one of the things they noted is that once modularity is working, which should be fairly soon, it also gives the designers options for when a new feature comes online. For a new gameplay feature comes online, they wouldn't necessarily have to make a new ship to support this new gameplay feature. They could just make new modules for existing ships.
If we have a parrot...
Oh my god.
in our ship,
if we have a parrot.
When we have a parrot in our ship, could the parrot fly in 0G?
If there's air, yes.
That's interesting.
I mean, the parrot wouldn't do very well, and it'd probably smash into things constantly, but yes, it can fly.
Well, because it's thrusting against gravity normally, and if there's no gravity...
It's just going to
thrust again. It's just going to go boom and hit the ceiling.
Yeah. Sure will.
I'm sensing some problems with pets, guys.
Anyway, you know what I'm reminded of? Do you remember when I used to do news on the Friday night show on the base?
Yep.
Remember?
I remember that.
Do you remember how you used to just
we ruined that for you as well.
You used to constantly try and interrupt me the entire time I was doing them so that it was as hard as possible? That's what this feels like right now.
Well, while you're interrupted, on the talk of modularity, as we were talking about it during during the pre-show,
Yep.
it's not a simple case of, you know, basically this is the ship. These parts of the ship are the ship being made. Jesus, where to start with this whole thing? Because the way that CIG are approaching it with the power grid system of, you know, power is literally flowing around the ship, and the engineer's aware of that. So first of all, you need to make sure that any module that's going to be interchangeable is actually going to be in this network and actually have a physical, I would assume, connection to the existing power network and any other systems that need to be made aware of. Then it's also got to physically fit, and that's going to be a pain in the backside for those poor people who have to make that. And then, as is the problem with any game virtually, is making a game engine aware of, okay, so this is part A and this is part B. Part B is my ship. I am taking part A, and it is now the ship. It is not part A, it is all part B. And then it needs to be able to be taking that apart and then
That's not a
recognize
problem.
that this part is part A again, and it's not an easy task for a game engine to do that.
But they solved that with the
Physics grid.
the system they were showing. The object contain, like the, I don't remember what they called it.
Well, that's object container streaming.
But it's like, that's your ship.
As well.
It's your ship, right? Your tally, and then everything that's connected to your tally is under there. So that solves that portion of it. They're
don't hang on. Don't just fucking brush that away. That is quite an achievement, because
no.
making a game engine
It's nuts.
aware and being able to do that in real time without fucking around, because there are tricks.
Yeah.
Other games have done it. For instance, Homeworld Cataclysm, I believe, or Emergence, where you could get two fighters and they would lock into one Corvette. But what was going on under the hood there was you didn't have these two Acolyte fighters and then connect. It would do the animation, and then when they connect, it would quickly swap the model out, and you would have the Corvette. And that's how you get around it and create the illusion that you've got these two ships linked. But they are actually making it so they're linked, and it's quite an achievement.
Here's a further question to yours, Shiver, though. When you are sitting there in hangar with your ship and you select, I want this module instead, are they going to show like a bunch of workmen coming in, detaching the old module, carting it away, driving in with the new module? But then that's going to take time. And should it take time for you to change your module on your ship?
Yes.
And then how much time?
It should depend on
42 to 67 minutes.
It should depend on what's the tech level of the station you're at. If it is literally these guys have just got to come running out, what's their schedule like before they get to your ship? Then they've got to use manual tools to be able to do that. Or if you're in a high-tech area, will the claw come out, clamp down, bring it out,
the claw,
put it, in some subspace pocket, and then bring another one out and put it in, and things like that.
I want to talk about physical.
I just had this vision, Shiver, of you going to some like shitty ass rundown planet, and they have to like jack your ship up with like actual jacks to get far enough off the ground so that they can rip out the module.
Oh god, I hope it's like that.
I want them to just look at you and say no. Screw off.
Pretty much, yeah. All right, moving along.
I want to talk physicalized damage because this is nuts.
Yes.
All right. So I'll go through with this stuff and then we can talk about it. Sound good? So, physicalized damage. So the physics team is working on it right now. They are doing a lot of prototypes, tons of prototypes, for how it would work in the game. They apparently recently showed off internally a soft body deformation test that they did, which John Crew said excited and terrified him in equal measure. And probably the coolest part of this, they are looking at replacing health points for part detachment. So when pieces fall off of ships, they want to replace that with material-based strength. So basically, materials would be assigned, physical traits and tensile strength, and to determine when parts detach. So you'd actually have like a joint break because because its tensile strength or its material strength had been degraded to the point where it breaks off. And then
that gets really, really interesting because it's no longer just HP, right? You're talking tensile strength of a joint on a ship, which no, but Shiver, I don't know why you're laughing so much.
Oh, it's Eric, because that's Eric's. I was so close to getting through to the end of the sentence space.
I want to touch on that specifically right now. I'm sorry, Eric. That means that based on what you're doing with your ship, that part would be under different amounts of strain. So you could have a part that is equally damaged that doesn't fall off when you're flying normally, but if you start doing quick turns and start putting that part under stress, then it would fall off.
During the atmosphere.
That's nuts. Like, that is insane.
I cannot wait. Do you remember? Do you remember the primary buffer panel fell off Serenity when she was entering atmosphere? Anyway, you're gonna have like this super damaged wing, and you're gonna try to enter atmosphere, and the wing's just gonna rip off and fly behind you as you go down.
It's gonna start to matter even more. Like the speed at which you enter Atmo, the speed at which you leave Atmo. This, like, I hope
you'll have to be careful with the damaged ship.
Yeah,
for sure.
Ammo types. You've armored up your wing, you've armored up your hull, but you were too cheap to do the joint. So,
yep.
There you go.
Someone with good enough aim, they'll rip that.
I mean,
wing
it doesn't
right
have to be. If you've got a Gatling gun and you're just spraying and hoping for paying.
Yep.
By the way, hire me. It's things like that. It's those knock-on effects like that that make everything that little bit more dangerous, that little bit more in depth, and hopefully make you a better pilot. You're aware of that's the weak point, so you want to not expose it.
Well, and this also, I mean, that's going to matter a lot more for larger ships as well, because you're going to be able to do more damage to them. It's going to be a bit more noticeable on them. But this is something that I've talked a lot about. Sorry, Fastcart, the bot is not functional right now. Just ask questions in chat.
Just ask your fucking questions.
we've given up. We've given up on that. We suck. I suck specifically, not them, just me.
Although $20 is $20,
right? I talk about Breath of the Wild frequently as one of my favorite video games of all time, and it is that not because it had a story, because it didn't, but because the systems in that game worked so fluidly together, and they were fairly simple, but you knew when you did something that it would work the way you thought it should work. I set fire to grass. The grass fire is going to expand and set other things on fire. There will be an updraft from it. I can fly on that. Like, the systems worked together. And this is just more example of CIG breaking past this is just, arbitrary HP that you can shoot until it's dead, to the physical systems of this game are going to work together. And I wonder, like, I remember Battlefield 19, or not, it wasn't even 1942, it was Battlefield, it was the mod, a really big mod that came in after of the some war. I don't remember what it was called. Anyway, one of the Battlefield games, my friends and I would have knife fights on the wings of the airplanes as they were flying. Right? Someone would take off in a bomber, and then we'd have two people on each wing, and they would run at each other in midair, Knife fights on the wings of bomber planes. Why? Because we could. Because it worked that way. But it makes me think, like, what if you do get your ship's wing damaged? Could you then, like, eventually, if it's really, really damaged, land on a planet and go out there and jump on it to the point that it falls off because you're adding your weight to the and shearing the tensile strength? It should work that way.
It is, but yeah, theoretically.
It depends though on the a few factors, because if let's say you jump on the wing of an A380, even if that's loose, and your fat ass jumps up and down on that area, so you're not going to loosen it.
It would have to be really really damaged. But the idea is, okay, let's
almost toast.
If we can get 10 people jumping on the wing of it when it's almost damaged, would it break? Like, that's just. It's the systems just working, and the idea that they're getting to that even with the tensile strength of friggin' ships.
What was that, Shiver?
Why would you want to break it off, though?
You wouldn't.
You
what
wouldn't.
I was thinking
I'm just saying
would be
you could.
way more interesting is that it would change your... If it worked like that, where, okay, I don't want to increase the load on my wing by going into atmosphere, it would change your decision about where you wanted to repair your ship, right? Like, okay, I can't go land on a planet now. I'm going to lose both wings if I try and go down. I'm going to go to a space station, and they can fix my ship. And, or I'm going to call for help from a crucible, and they can come fix it in space, because it's better than trying to land.
Do you think that this is a pre-baby step towards salvage?
Yeah.
But not just salvage.
I had an epiphany then.
Oh, it's not. It's not just salvage, though, right?
No, it's coming apart.
But it's also repair.
Yep.
Right? Because you'll be sitting there on the planet, and you can do some manual repairs, but you've got like enough for a small patch. What are you going to patch? Are you going to patch the hole in your cockpit, or are you going to patch the wing so that you can take off? Like, you might have to start making.
Saying in the future, the CIG are going to release a patch.
Yes.
Yeah. I love.
And then a
patch. One of the things I wanted to mention that I thought was really cool is they were talking about not this one, but the previous SCL, which was actually 2 weeks before. Was one of the things I mentioned on there. They were talking about hand salvage, since it's coming first, and it will basically be stripping the surface material off of a ship's hull. Right? You'll use a handheld thing, a gun, basically, to strip the material off the surface of the hull, and you will be able to store that and use it, and either sell it or use it. It will be used partially in repair. Hand repair will be a reverse of the hand salvage function. And one of the cool things that they mentioned is that when you do your hand repairs and you fill in the holes in your hull, they won't be painted. You'll have shiny silver new patches. So when you come into, you'll see some people come into port and they'll have a bunch of shiny patches all over their ship where they've put it back together in space. And I thought that was amazing. I love that.
Guys,
just bare metal all over the place.
Do you ever sit there and look at what CIG are doing with Star Citizen and just laugh? Because
yes, me today mostly. Yeah.
Remember a couple of years ago when Red Dead Redemption came out and everyone was like, "Oh my god, the horses poop! It's so cool, the horses poop."
Mm-hmm.
No.
It was a thing, Shiver.
No, I know it was a thing, but I don't remember hanging around with loads of people and all this conversation was about, have you seen the horses poop in Red Dead?
It was. I remember that. But man, just I don't know, some of the systems that they're putting together and the not only are the ships damageable, and the damage is shown on the hull and possibly under the hull, but you can strip it, repair it, fly it again, tensile. It's just
Pop it.
it's nuts. Okay, we've only got a couple minutes left. Let's try and get through.
Yeah, so I gotta finish talking about this stuff.
Sorry.
So, the physicalized damage is something they've been working on for a long time. It is a necessary change, but understandably, it will have a knock-on effect on a number of existing ships. There's more reworks to come, because physicalized damage doesn't only include the stuff we talked about. It's also the, like, rounds penetrating the hull and hitting components and shit like that. And that all has to work, right? And so that is that all has to. They have to make sure that none of the ships have issues with it working properly. Some of the work for physicalized damage is already in the engine. They've just disabled it. One of those is that the game can currently determine the mass of a ship just by what the materials are that made it. And they did test this on 2 ships. And this is some of the code that's already in the game, but that's disabled right now. They tested it on 2 ships, and they were actually quite close to the masses that they had already assigned for that ship, so it's working properly. The reason that's important, so the way the game currently works is the engine knows that your ship is, say, 80 tons. But currently, it just goes, oh, here's the ship, and it's this big, and it's 80 tons, and it just divides up that mass between, equal parts of the entire ship. So it doesn't. One part of the ship being heavier than another part of the ship doesn't actually exist right now.
Is this the Mass Effect I keep hearing people talk about?
Yes.
No. Oh.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So just to clear it up, no and yes. So yes, the game will be able to determine the mass of a ship, and presumably the change in mass of a ship just based on the materials that make it up. So that's pretty cool. So AI blades. AI blades are still coming. They will still work the same as they've been described in the past. They are on the long-term schedule for the vehicle experience team, and so they will come eventually. Ship painting, very important topic. It's still coming. Despite the fact that they're selling skins and stuff, the ship painting stuff is still coming. You'll still be able to paint your ship in the game. They would like to make the existing skins special in some way. They are not entirely sure how yet. They do not want to lock off colors entirely because that's a huge pain in the ass for them and for us. So they're not entirely sure about that yet, but painting is coming. You will need to fly to a physical location to paint your ship. You'll have to go to a ship painting place to do it. And currently, they did mention a couple times that ship painting does not currently work very well even internally, so that needs a lot of work before it could ever be released to the players.
2 questions from Fastcart. Has anyone on the cast finished Foundation, the series?
That's off topic.
I haven't. I haven't watched any of it yet. It's on Apple. I'd have to download it. Next question. We didn't get a letter or a free hangar flare when crowdfunding reached 400 million. Are you anticipating we'll get anything at 420?
No. Oh, I got this one.
We would if the CEO is Elon Musk, but it's not, so we won't.
No.
There you go. Shiver's favorite topic, the Polaris.
Yes.
So the Polaris was mentioned. It actually has been worked on. They around the same time they did the Banu Merchantman and reconcepted it. They also reconcepted the Polaris and brought it up to the current standards for ships. It is now ready to begin development, but it has not begun development. They need to find a spot in the schedule for it. The hangar is now the proper size for hangar, and they did compare it to the Odyssey's hangar, so I think probably similar. It's a little bit larger than it used to be. Big shocker. And now all the components that were not capital level before have been upgraded to capital level components. So power plant, shield generator, all those types of things are all now capital class.
You people 3 months ago when we were actually putting the question sheet up and the bot, now everyone's got fucking questions.
I know.
Isn't it just the first day we don't do?
I didn't put up the bot because no one's asked a question in like 4 months, and now there's questions.
Look, I love that question. And I'm just gonna continue right along. Also, a really cool note: people are like, "Hey, where's the Corsair?" And they're like, "Hey, we just started working on it." This week, the Corsair entered White Box. It is now in production. Really cool ship. It's asymmetric. It's a Drake ship. So, yeah, it should be neat. I am going to present this without further comment. Racing is not dead. Designers really like operator modes. So this is what they're talking about with, like, when you're operating a turret, you're doing an operator mode. When you are refining, you'll have an operator mode. Basically, it's a way of defining a set control scheme based on what you are doing. So they really like that, and they think that's the way forward for new gameplay mechanics.
That's sort of how multi-crew will end up working too, won't it? You'll be able to assign people different operator roles, just give that person the scanning, give that person the remote turrets, and done with it, right? It's great. Citizen Shenanigans. Will repairing a healthy ship add armor and mass? You will.
Very interesting question. I'm not sure how the repair system is going to interact with armor.
I have a feeling repairing won't add armor, but you will be able to add armor.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be really funny if you just kept layering more stuff on your hull. If it's just like, okay, now your armor's at like 1.01%.
I don't think they can get to that.
100.01%. Anyway,
where would the limit be?
Yeah, right.
They would have to put a limit on the space frame and say, again, probably the hand wavium thing. Your engines couldn't handle any extra mass on top of it.
The armored Carrack bridge and it's one of those things. They can do it now, so that's the big, new piece of news. They weren't able to do it before because they had the same problem with that they did with the Hull series deploying and animating. The armored Carrack can be done now. They just haven't set aside any time to do it. My guess is it probably won't happen until they're going through the Carrack anyway to do the gold standard pass. And also because for the same reason, separate wing movements are also should work now. And the last one is probably David's favorite one. The Endeavor is going to be a gigantic pain in the ass to make. So yeah.
It's actually not my favorite thing because I don't want the Endeavor to be a pain in the ass. I really want. They're talking about how they're gonna go through and show the entire process of like the Banu Merchantman and show us how and show it all the way along. And I want to see the Endeavor all the way along. Because it's gonna need a full a concept pass again. It hasn't had concept in years. I want to see how much bigger it's gonna. I'm so excited by the Endeavor and everything that it has, and like.
I would be shocked if it's less than 2 kilometers long.
It's the most modular ship in the game.
Yep.
It hit right at the very end, and I think actually they designed the Endeavor and sold it, and then someone somewhere went back and looked at it and be like, "Hey guys,
it's gonna be a pain in the ass to make.
How are we gonna do this? How are we going to have all these?" And then they were like, "Shit, we should probably stop with the modularity, shouldn't we?" Yes, Shiver?
The fuck are you and where did Eris go?
Why?
Where's Eris?
Oh.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is.
So one last thing I wanted to talk about, it was not from that episode, it was from another episode. Hacking. So we got more details on hacking. This is my last thing. And then we're out of here. Hacking sounds like it's going to be extremely cool. They are working really hard on this gameplay. They're going to have normal controls. They were a little bit vague about it, but they did mention things like mazes and networks and having to tie things together, and how when you entered a system, you wouldn't be aware of where you needed to go, so you'd have to like actually explore. You would have normal controls, but there would be like an advanced mode where you can actually control the hacking via command prompt. So this is where they wanted to go full hacker fantasy mode. So you'll be able to like enter commands quickly on your keyboard and, you know, hack your way in. That will be another gameplay mode on top of the one and top of the basic one. So a couple things here. There will be a timer, obviously, which will, you know, be the lock-off point when, you know, you fail. They are also introducing antiviruses, so ships can have better antivirus. You can buy better antivirus software for your ship.
Fuck, we're gonna get McAfee in game, aren't we?
Yeah, right. And
we've already got Elon. Might as well. And
so
there's whales too.
The antivirus will basically hunt you in the system, and if you get caught, then you fail. For the PvP part of it, the person who's being hacked, if it's a player versus a player, the player is being hacked can take control of their antivirus and then go try and track down the other player in the system.
I said it.
They expect this to be used on lots of things: doors, loot containers, computer systems, and ships, of course.
I said it earlier, but do you guys ever just sit there and laugh at the systems that they're adding in?
Yep.
Like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck?
They're having fun making this game.
Wasn't there a game that was basically just hacking?
Oh yeah, there's
many.
Yeah,
many.
Yeah. That's fair. There was one that was really big at the time, and it's one of those things that's just at the back of your head because it was never something I did or was into, but I remember it was really big at its time. And that, I know a lot of people quote that as, you know, that is the kind of hacking gameplay they would like to see. I'm wondering if it's going to be similar to that. No, fuck off.
Well, and we've had that for other things as well, right? People often point to Hardspace Shipbreaker for salvage, for example, right? Like that is a great example of salvage, and that's what people... Great game, by the way, Hardspace Shipbreaker. It is a really good example of salvage. If you want an idea of what we hope salvage will feel like, it's a great game.
I hope it's going to be a bit better than that, to be honest.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, it is a great game, but I hate sitting there and it's like, a light.
That part of it's not great, but the breaking apart and the like different ways of doing it, and it's really well put together game. But I remember a long time ago people were saying like auto mechanics simulator. There was some like car repair simulator or something that they were hoping that tuning a ship would be like. Like there've been lots of comparison games, and the thing that's really scary to finally start to be able to watch, because FPS, whatever, it's an FPS. Cargo, cargo's cargo. How do you like really make cargo interesting? Now that we're starting... But now that we're starting to see medical and salvage and repair and refining come online, hacking, exploration, data running, like where are these? Like where are they going to go with these? Like data running is going to be not just about the speed of getting from place to place, but also getting the data quickly and then delivering the data quickly, and possibly even keeping the data like accurate while traveling. Like there's so much that they can do with all of these different systems, and the crazy thing to watch is that they're doing it. They could be like every single other MMO out there and say, yes, you click the button to mine. Click
And then
mine
you walk
on the
away
rock.
from your computer for 5 minutes, and you come back.
Click mine on the rock, and you will mine the rock. No. There are mining gadgets.
First
And,
game to have many different systems. I mean, even Minecraft has got many different systems in it, but it's the hope that it's taking like the farming gameplay from Minecraft and adding more onto it rather than just chuck a couple of seeds in, bit of water. Oh, look at that.
well, it's more like
It's the
Minecraft.
hope of something more.
Minecraft, the farming is the same as the mining is the same as the. It's all just like
Well, yeah.
hit the right.
I suppose.
The thing about Star Citizen is the interesting thing really is that the mining gameplay is going to be nothing like the hacking gameplay, right? They are their own separate games, essentially, and that's insane. It's
But
insane to me.
They're full on roles, aren't they?
Yep.
It's not just to. It's not just going to be an obligatory. We need someone to be a hacker. They need to and are making systems where people will be like, I really enjoy this aspect of the game. I want to be doing this. I'm going to make myself Leet Hacker XX069XX.
There's a
available
game
for
I refer to
hire.
every once in a while that was called Puzzle Pirates. Puzzle Pirates was a pirate MMO years ago. It was a Java-based game, I think. But everything in the game was done with puzzles. But each job in the ship had a completely different puzzle. If you were the captain, you had like a navigating compass and you had to fill the things on the compass to make you go faster. People on sails had to, like, it was almost like a weird Tetris thing that you had to fill certain sail portions to get more speed from the sails. There were people in the bottom of the ship that could be on bilge work, which you'd have to there was a bilging mini game, and then there was a repair mini game where you had to fit the different shaped boards to cover the hole. Like every single role on the ship, and then combat was its own thing as well. All of the different roles were different games. They were all still very simple and all like move balls around the holes.
Come on, Shiver.
I gave you that one.
I was going to let him have that.
Oh, okay. I was trying to give that one to you, but yeah.
I never want you to just give me your balls.
That's not what you said last night. Citizen Shenanigans has two
That's
questions.
because my mouth was full.
Will hacking come before ship permissions? Probably not.
I'm
And
guessing no, but
was hacking gameplay supposed to be like solving a maze?
I think it still is, yeah. But they're just saying that there's going to be more complexity to it. They're adding more stuff,
Yeah.
more depth
when you
to
say-
the way it works.
When you say like a maze, kind of similar to the way that Deus Ex did it, or not?
I don't know. I never played Deus
Oh,
Ex.
okay. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Nothing.
Look, they're good.
Okay,
They're all
I'm
right.
sorry.
They're good games.
Sorry.
They're good games.
All right.
we
All
could
right.
probably,
we
Affect the toilet minigame from Citizen Shenanigans.
Yes.
I really hope so.
It depends on how strong of a force you are getting from your anus at the time.
No, Shiver, you
I
should have just
really-
gone with it depends.
I really want to know what the hell they plan to do with. And I know what you could say, but I want to know what they're actually going to do with those spaces in the game. What are you going to do in the bathroom?
Poop. Look,
Do it
video
fast.
games need to normalize pooping. Pooping is an important subject, and people need to be more willing to talk about poop.
All right.
It's
All right,
one
I'm
of
gonna
the
go.
most important things.
My character will.
we
my
do
character
as
will go
humans.
for a poop and will sit on his Moby glass the whole time. Look at
Yeah.
this stuff.
All right.
I think you'll find that plenty of people do talk about pooping on forums. It's called shit posting.
Shiver, where can you be found?
Yes. Yeah, that was sudden. I believe we might actually be playing a video game at some point during the week on Table of Horrors. Friday, in your Western time zone, we have Oxford by Night, our modern day V5 VTM Chronicle, which is coming close to an end. And we have hopefully got stuff planned for Christmas. Hopefully, if we can get all dates and sync, we've got a potentially very interesting game of Wraith coming up for Christmas.
Ooh. Sounds fun.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. There's a lot of. Oh God. The more I think about it, the more intimidating. There's a lot of Star Trek adventure games coming. In the new year, we're going to be starting up a Homeworld TTRPG campaign. Sometime after March, we're kicking off with the Transformers TTRPG, and at some point, I have to sit here and write those as well. So that's going to be interesting, just seeing the bag's form. Play that little mini game if you want, seeing how stressed Shiver is.
With
David,
that,
where can we find you?
you can find me here. This is, and hopefully, if schedules.
Sorry, I nearly forgot because Nitro will beat me if I don't say it. If we get up to 400 followers, which we're pretty close to, we're only 20 away, we'll be opening a play-by-post area on our Table Forest Discord as well, if you fancy some RP play-by-post.
Nice.
Awesome. That's cool. We should mention that we do not have a game show coming up on Tuesday because all four of us, the three of us here, and our favorite Jake, are all going to be covering. Well, I mean, Shiver, should I announce that you're going to be there, or is it a maybe you're going to be there?
Potentially going to be there.
Potentially going to be
It depends
there.
on how many bags I've got under my eyes at the point.
Fair enough. But we are going to be covering the Game Awards next Thursday, which is the 9th, correct? December 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's probably, I think it's like 2 to 3 hours long usually. So yeah, come and join us. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, it should
so
be a good show.
That'll be our replacement for game show this week. Is the Game Awards?
And
always
then,
a good show.
And then join us back here next Saturday. We're gonna have to see what CIG's schedule is, because once they sort of pack in
Once
for
they
the
stop, we're
holidays, we stop. So, but yeah, keep an eye on that.
Hey
and
guys,
Discord
we're
and Twitter.
exactly 3 weeks from Christmas Day.
I know. I'm sort of excited. Oh. Link is so sick right now. He's just
Poor
he's just
kiddo.
coughing all night. It's brutal.
Ugh.
Did you know that you can't? There's no like actual cough medicine that can be given to children under 3. Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing.
Yeah. Heat is probably his biggest friend right now.
We've got humidifier.
Yeah, that would probably help.
Sorry, it's his monitor. It's running out of batteries. Anyway, no.
Right, we're going to change Link's batteries.
Unfortunately, Niskavian, my wife used to be a nurse and absolutely refuses the brandier whiskey.
With good reason, I feel.
Yeah.
My mom did it to me, and I turned out fine.
With very good reason, I